Hi friends, I decided to do something different this time, and instead of writing a summary of January, I'm actually going to record a video going through the month, covering a bunch of different topics, and I'm going to then publish this video in on the Substack and on my personal YouTube. So this is the first time I'm trying this. We'll see if this format works and if you like it, and if not, we'll go back to writing summaries instead. So let's jump in. There's a lot to cover. So this document here, Hawkeye Ventures Master Financial Sheet, is really my eagle's eye view on top line revenue. And it's a pretty robust sheet. And here I've got performance across my SaaS business as well as my agency per month. So we're going to focus on January because that's what we're talking about in this video. So overall, January was actually a very good month. As we can see here across the SaaS, we generated almost $7,000 across the three SaaS that I've acquired over the last 3 years. Is it 3 years? November 2022 was when I bought the first one. So just over 2 years at this point. So if you're not familiar, I've acquired 3 micro SaaS since, as I just mentioned, November 2022. First one was Pulse Banner. Second one was Meet Slack, which has really been the star among the acquisitions. And more recently, I acquired Translate Channels. So we can see the performance of each from column B to column D. So Pulse Banner brought in 619. Meet Slack almost 5K, and Translate Channels also had a very good month at 1,500. I've published about each of these acquisitions in previous editions of my Substack, so feel free to go back and look through, and you'll see dedicated newsletters on each of the acquisitions. So total almost 7,000. We can see that when compared to January last year, we did actually over $500 more this year compared to last, which is an 8% increase. In terms of the agency, so PBI is Project BI. This is projectbi.net. This is my analytics agency. This brings in the bulk of the revenue across my businesses. And we work with 9-figure D2C brands, and we essentially help them become data-driven by helping them implement best-in-class BI infrastructure, and then we move on to helping them develop, we actually develop for them custom reporting. So here's some examples of dashboards we built for previous clients. And this is just an example of the tech stack that we typically work with. So last month, I'm recording this, by the way, on the 14th of February. So last month, the agency generated $11,000. Compared to the previous year, we actually generated nothing in January last year. So there's not really anything we can compare it to. This came in from a single client. I can't really talk too much about that arrangement, but it was a pretty big deal to close this agreement with this company in January, and it's going to be basically an annual contract working with them at $11K a month, which is really nice. So in total, we generated just under $18,000 for the month, and compared to last year, we were up over 11,500. So very, very strong start to the year. We'll see how things continue. Just briefly, you can see the orange line indicates we're still not done with February, but February's also been a strong month. Already brought in 2,100. Just double check that. Sorry, we brought in 10,000, running total of 21,000. Yeah, so decent start to February. It's going to get stronger. This doesn't include the 11K, which, as I mentioned, is a monthly retainer. So that's going to take us to 21K for the month. That's more or less what I expect to collect unless we get some new business over the next 2 weeks, which is unlikely, but you never know. So looking down here at the moment, around 30% of the revenue is from software and 70% is from the agency. That's gonna, as the months go on, more will come in from the agency. So this is the biggest difference I expect, to see across the software and agency. I've also added this year in this sheet, basically summaries of previous months, previous years, so we can see, growth over time. Basically, we can track where we are in relation to last year. So, we're already at 19% of last year's revenue for the SaaS and 10% for the agency. Once again, it doesn't really mean much at this point. We're only halfway through February. But, I want to keep an eye on, the growth, and the idea is to, grow year over year. So we've got the percentage changes here over time, and that will obviously fluctuate as time goes on and we bring in more revenue. So the next thing I want to touch on is basically what I've been doing a lot since the beginning of the year is starting to, go back to posting frequently on LinkedIn. This is where I'm really doubling down my efforts to grow the agency. Last year, the biggest issue we had was being under capacity. I wrote a lot about that in a previous post on the Substack. So, basically 5 days a week, I'm posting at least once a day thought leadership type content. Here's an example of a post I published. You can see getting around this post got 1,500 views. We're averaging between 500 and around 1,000. Decent engagement, even though it's typically the same individuals who are mostly other analytics specialists. There's not much happening from my ideal customer persona, but I do have, I am working to grow my audience, basically bring in more relevant people into my audience, and I'm doing that through sending connection requests. I've recently upgraded to the Sales Navigator within LinkedIn, so I'm not paying LinkedIn $100 a month to be able to basically use Sales Navigator, find individuals, build lead lists, etc. So I'm working hard on that as well. Just briefly looking at my analytics for LinkedIn, you can see pretty decent growth in the last 7 days. Once again, we're kind of wanting to focus on January, which is a bit, I can't isolate January here, but if we look back, so the last 28 days, we see some decent growth. So, things are starting to pick up. The algorithm seems to be liking my content more recently. January was a bit flatter than it is now, so I'm happy about that. When looking at some recent, let's do this rather, last 28 days, almost 20k impressions. So this one was a week ago. Yeah, so as you can see, some recent posts have been doing quite well. I'm not really sure why. For example, this post I put a lot less effort than I do most posts. I just like to use images in my posts, and this is an image I really like of Facebook ads dashboard we built in the past, and you can see a lot of engagement for a pretty basic post. Once again, not getting any reach outs or any no leads being generated yet from these posts. So it is something I'm working hard on trying to improve, and I'm going to kind of touch on some of the efforts that I'm planning to do in the rest of February to help in this. Another really nice thing that I've started is I joined Content Army. So this is a good friend of mine, Adam Kitchen, and he's got Content Army, a new business that he runs where he helps essentially startup founders leverage content marketing to grow their businesses. So I've been working with his team, been doing a fantastic job of just helping me think through the content strategy, and basically do a better job on LinkedIn. Yesterday we actually had our first session of recording videos. So part of the value they provide is they essentially interview you with questions that have been previously drawn up together, and they bring in an editor, and it's a really professional way of doing things, much better than I've done in the past. And we recorded essentially myself answering 11 questions out of, there was a list of 12, but we only tackled 11. And now the editor's at work going through that recording. It's about an hour and a half of work to generate all that content, and they're going to turn into different clips that we can then post, that I can then post on LinkedIn and other social channels. So this is another initiative that I'm investing in to really help with lead gen across LinkedIn. I do believe this is the best channel for growing Project BI, and this is where I'm focusing my attention. So in addition to the 5 posts, 1 post a day, to continue to grow the audience. Let's see, you can see here, by the way, come on. Yeah, so we're approaching 6.5k followers. I think I had around 6k, towards the end of last year. I can kind of pull those numbers up and double check that, but decent growth in followers. Part of it's also sending the connection request to relevant operators in the D2C space. The whole idea is I want to have more people in my audience that are relevant for the agency, and then by posting frequently thought leadership content, there's more chance that they'll see that content, start getting a feel of what we do, and then hopefully a percentage of them will reach out wanting to learn more, and a percentage of those will end up buying our services. So yeah, it's early days with Content Army, but I'm excited to see what the content that they're going to help me generate, and start publishing some of that and see how LinkedIn reacts. In addition to the agency, we're also investing very heavily on the SaaS side of things. So the main focus this year is really on getting Feedio to a much better place and generating revenue. So Feedio been built over about a decade. You can see here, this is how it looks today, very outdated. So every week we have a developer working with us to rebuild the entire interface. We worked with a really strong design team to help us. So this is the new designs. There's still a lot of work here, so keep that in mind, but you can see it's a bit more up to date. Just to give you an idea, we have a section here called sites. This is basically all the content sites connected to your brand, and in my case, I've got a lot of sources here. This is the new design, right? So you can see the sources over here. You can see kind of the status of the source, and this is the automated distribution channels that Feedio provides. So I really like this design. We're now in the process of redesigning the more core pages like content, subscribers, emails. Still a lot of work to be done here, but you can start to see a much kind of cleaner, crispier layout, and that's thanks to the wonderful designers we've worked with. Yeah, this page has got some bugs, but yeah, so the plan is over the next 2 to 3 weeks to really wrap up what I'm calling level 1 pages. These are just the top level pages within the navigation, and then if I click, for example, on one of these content sources, it should take you to another page where you can delete it or have different settings. So that would be a level 2 page. We're going to start those in March, and I really hope that by the end of March we can be completely done with the redesign, and essentially I can relaunch the service with the new designs. It's still available today, so if you are curious, if you are a content creator, you're more than welcome to visit feedio.co and sign up. this homepage also will be redesigned over the next 6 weeks. It's really outdated. So that's video. The other SaaS that I'm really bullish on is Project Echo. So we built a minimal viable version of Project Echo at the beginning of last year, and it's functioning, and you can come here to projectecho.io and sign up, and it's completely free for now. But we've been working on pretty big redesign of the back end of the service to allow us to build these, I guess you'd call daily summary reports. And the idea being that I can now send to Slack and over email, really, build essentially a template that contains a lot of different metrics I can pull via my data warehouse. So imagine you have a data warehouse, a bunch of data. You could write a query that pulls a bunch of numbers and then actually display those numbers in a Slack message. And the idea is that, if a CMO wants to track a lot of different KPIs, he could actually send a message to himself on Slack, and that way people can, himself and others can actually see the numbers and then start a conversation straight in Slack on the numbers. So we already now support the ability to bring in multiple numbers and really multiple metrics from a single query into a Slack message, set up a schedule. So every day at 9 a.m. I can set myself a summary report showing all my top line KPIs from our warehouse. And at the moment we're working on our first third-party integrations of GA4 and Facebook ads. And the idea being that if I don't have a data warehouse, but I still want to send myself alerts or summary reports to Slack or email, I can just connect my Google Analytics or my Facebook or whatever other service we integrate in the future and pull those numbers in on a schedule. So I'm really excited to see how far we can take this. I have like a million ideas, but it is pretty complex development work, and we've got to be smart in how we do it. I'm really hoping to have 3 to 5 paying customers over the next few months, and then I can get a sense of if there's really something here and if I should double down on this or start phasing it out. At the moment, unfortunately, I have too many ideas and too many areas of focus and not enough resources. So Feedio in of itself is a big project, and then Project Echo is kind of second on the list. In terms of plans for February, this is more or less what I have on my list. So start working on a new lead magnet for a 9-figure D2C brand. So I experimented with this in Q4 last year. I worked hard on a really cool lead magnet for SaaS businesses, but now that I've moved back to focusing on D2C brands, I don't have a dedicated lead magnet for that market. And the problem is, we're selling pretty advanced, complex services, and, it's a lot to take in for a D2C brand. What we do need is a lead magnet to basically get people in the door, start building trust with them, and allow me to also, share those lead magnets on social media instead of just doing thought leadership content. I've got to kind of mix it up a bit. So I am brainstorming some ideas, and we'll start development on that lead magnet soon. I doubt I'll be done before the end of the month, but hopefully I can make some good progress until then. As I've spoken about Content Army, we did our first recording yesterday. Hopefully in about a week to 10 days, I'll get the videos sent to me, and then I can start publishing them. I'm excited for that. The goal really before the end of the month is to finish those level 1 pages of Feedio. So, we've got a developer every week putting about 15 hours of work into Feedio. And we've got 3 whole pages we've got to design, plus 1 or 2 others that for example, this drop down menu needs to be built with some pages there. Add a new brand needs to be built. So there's probably 5 or 6 pages we need to finish over the next 2 weeks. So it's going to be a big push. And then in parallel to all of that, I really would like to be done with the GA4 and Facebook ads integration with Project Echo. The idea being that I could build a summary report by bringing numbers from multiple sources. So that's really the milestone I really want to hit. And that way, you know, even if a small business doesn't have a data warehouse, they could connect a few of their sources and then build a really, you know, custom template of what they want to send to themselves. And I really would like to have that done over the next 2 weeks, and I think we will be able to do that. So I've got a developer spending about 20% of her time on Project Echo. It's low priority compared to Video, but we'll chip away at that as well. So that's it, friends. If you have any questions, feel free to, you know, ping me on LinkedIn. I'll be more than happy to engage with you there. And like I said, I'd be more than happy to have you sign up to Video, Project Echo. I am looking for design partners, those that, you know, like the idea of what we're doing and are happy to try it out, give us feedback. That'd be wonderful. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.